Abigail, please don't leave me. I might be poor now, but I'll make more money. I'll work harder. My wife, please. Think about our 6 children. They're still very little. They need you. Please, don't leave us.
Get your hands off me, you poverty-stricken carpenter. You smell of sawdust and failure. I am tired of this marriage. I am tired of this poor life. I regret marrying you. I have found someone better, someone rich, someone that is willing to give me the princess treatment I deserve. As for the kids, they will be fine.
Chai, my people. She left just like that. If only she had known that the luxury life she was chasing would one day destroy her completely. But greed had covered her eyes, and by the time she finally saw clearly, it was already too late. Let me tell you about Bayo, a man whose wife abandoned him and his 6 daughters for a luxury life. But before we begin, please like and subscribe to this channel and also comment where you're watching from. Let's begin. In Freetown, there lived a man named Bayo. Bayo had been married to his wife Abigail for 12 years and they had 6 beautiful daughters, 3 sets of twins. The eldest pair were Rina and Tina, who were 10 years old. The middle twins were Cordelia and Amelia, 8 years old. And the youngest were Emerson and Maddison, just 6 years old. Bayo was a carpenter. Every morning, he would wake up at 5 o'clock and head to his small carpentry workshop at the edge of town. The workshop was nothing fancy, just a wooden shed with old tools, sawdust covering the floor, and the smell of wood filling the air. But it was honest work, and Bayo was proud of it. His wife, Abigail, used to be content with their simple life. She would help the girls with their studies, cook meals, and sometimes sell vegetables in the market to add a little extra money to the household. They were not rich, no. They did not own a car. They did not live in a big house, but they had enough. The girls went to school. They ate 3 meals a day. They had clothes on their backs. They were managing. But slowly, things began to change. It started small, very small. Abigail would see other women in the market, women who used to be her mates, her age mates, and they would arrive in cars, wearing expensive lace, gold jewelry hanging from their necks and wrists. They would shop without checking prices, buying whatever they wanted. And Abigail would look down at her own faded wrapper, her worn slippers, and something bitter would grow in her heart. She started comparing. Started complaining. Bayo, she would say in the evenings, her voice sharp with frustration. Why can't you do what other men are doing to make money? Look at Chief Adeyemi's driver. Even the driver owns a car now. And here we are, still struggling in this same small house. Bayo would look up from the wood he was carving, his hands covered in sawdust. Abigail, my dear, we are making progress. Business is slow now, but it will pick up. God will provide. Just have patience. Patience? Abigail will snap back. I have been patient for 12 years. I am tired of eating the same beans and rice every day. I am tired of wearing the same 3 wrappers. I am tired of this poverty. The girls would hear their mother's voice rising, and they would exchange worried glances. Little Rina, even at just 10 years old, would try to calm her mother down. Mama, we are fine. We have food. We have school. Papa is trying his best. But Abigail would wave her hand dismissively. You children don't understand. You are still too young. You don't know what it means to suffer like this. Bayo would just shake his head sadly and return to his work. What else could he do? He was working as hard as he could. The carpentry business was slow. People in the town did not have much money to spend on furniture. But he kept trying, kept working, kept hoping that things would improve. But Abigail's complaints did not stop. They grew louder, more frequent, more bitter. One afternoon, Abigail was in the market, selling her small basket of vegetables, when a sleek black car pulled up beside her store. The door opened and out stepped a woman dressed in expensive clothes, a bright red lace outfit with gold embroidery, designer sunglasses, and jewelry that sparkled in the sunlight. Abigail, the woman called out, removing her sunglasses. Is that really you? Abigail looked up, squinting. Then recognition dawned. For me from secondary school? Yes, so Fumi laughed, walking over with her high heels clicking on the ground. My goodness, Abigail, what are you doing here, selling vegetables? Abigail felt shame wash over her. She looked down at her faded clothes, her small basket of tomatoes and peppers. Ah, Fumi, you know how life is. We're just managing. Fumi looked at her with something between pity and amusement. Managing? But Abigail, you are one of the smartest girls in our class. Beautiful, intelligent, and now look at you, selling vegetables in the market like this. Abigail swallowed her pride. Life has not been easy, my sister. My husband is just a carpenter. We have 6 daughters to take care of. We are just surviving. Fumi shook her head slowly. This is not right. A beautiful woman like you cannot be suffering like this. She reached into her expensive handbag and pulled out a business card. Listen, I am going to a party this Saturday night. Big men will be there. Businessmen, politicians, chiefs. Come with me. Let me introduce you to people who can change your life. Abigail stared at the card. Deep down, she knew what Fumi was really offering. Everyone knew what kind of parties these were. Everyone knew what women like Fumi did to afford their cars and their gold. But the seed of discontent had already taken root in Abigail's heart. And now it was beginning to grow. Okay, Abigail said quietly, taking the card. I will come. Fumi smiled. Good. Wear something nice. Or actually, come to my house first on Saturday afternoon. I will give you something proper to wear. You cannot go to this kind of party looking like this. She gestured at Abigail's market clothes. That evening, when Abigail came home, Bayo noticed something different about her. She seemed distracted, distant. Are you all right? He asked. I am fine, she replied sharply, just tired. But she was not tired. She was thinking. Thinking about the car Fumi drove, the jewelry she wore, the life she lived, and she wanted it. Oh, how badly she wanted it.
That Saturday, Abigail told Bayo she was going to visit an old friend. Which friend? Bayo asked concerned. Do you want me to come with you? No, Abigail said too quickly. Then she softened her voice. No, it's just a woman friend from my school days. We're just going to catch up, nothing serious. Bayo nodded, trusting his wife. Okay, don't stay out too late. The girls will miss you. But Abigail did stay out late, very late. Fumi picked her up in her car and took her to a luxury hotel in the city. The party was on the top floor, a penthouse suite filled with wealthy men in expensive agbadas, women in glittering dresses, champagne flowing, music playing. Abigail had never seen anything like it. Come, Fumi said, pulling her into the crowd. Let me introduce you. That night, Abigail met Chief Okonkwo. He was a big man, both in size and in status. He owned construction companies, had government contracts, drove 3 different cars, and he liked Abigail, liked her very much. You are a very beautiful woman, he said, his voice smooth, as he handed her a glass of champagne. What is your name? Abigail, she said, her heart pounding. Abigail, he repeated, smiling. A beautiful name for a beautiful woman. Are you married? Abigail hesitated, then she lied. Mo, I am single. Chief Okonkwo's smile widened. Good, very good. By the end of the night, Chief Okonkwo had given Abigail 20,000 naira, more money than Bayo made in 2 months. He also gave her his phone number. Call me, he said. I want to see you again. When Abigail came home that night at 3 in the morning, Bayo was awake, worried, sick. Where have you been? He demanded. I was so worried. I thought something had happened to you. I told you I was visiting a friend, Abigail said dismissively, walking past him. Stop being so dramatic. Bayo noticed something different about her. Her hair was styled differently. She smelled of expensive perfume. And was that a new handbag? Abigail, what is going on? He asked quietly. Nothing is going on, she snapped. I am just tired. Leave me alone. Little Maddison, who was 6 years old, had woken up from the noise. She came out rubbing her eyes. Mama, where did you go? Go back to bed, Abigail shouted at her daughter. It's okay, my dear. Mama is just tired. Come, let me take you back to bed. As he carries his crying daughter back to the room, Abigail didn't even look back. She was already thinking about when she would see Chief Okonkwo again. Over the next few months, Abigail changed completely. She started going out more often. Visiting friends, she would say. But she would come home with new clothes, new shoes, new jewelry, expensive things that Bayo could never afford.
Where are you getting money for all these things? Bayo asked one evening, his voice filled with hurt and confusion. Mind your business, Abigail shot back. Is it your money I am spending? Focus on your carpentry work and leave me alone. The daughters noticed too. Rina and Tina, even at 10 years old, would watch their mother leave the house dressed like she was going to a wedding, then return in the early hours of the morning. Mama, where do you go? Cordelia asked one day, her 8-year-old voice confused and hurt. That is not your concern, Abigail replied coldly. Face your studies. She stopped cooking for the family, stopped helping with anything. Some nights she would not come home at all. Bayo would have to wake up early, prepare the girls for school, help them with their uniforms, plait their hair, all the things Abigail used to do. 6-year-old Emerson would cry every morning. Papa, where is Mama? Why doesn't Mama help us anymore? And Bayo would force a smile, trying to hide his own pain. Mama is busy, my dear, but don't worry, Papa is here. Papa will take care of you.
Look at him, can't even
The neighbors started talking, started pointing fingers, started whispering behind Bayo's back. You see Bayo's wife? She's running around with big men. Oh. I saw her in a hotel with Chief Okonkwo last week. Shame. That woman has no respect for her husband or her children. Bayo heard the whispers, felt the shame, but what could he do? He loved his wife. He kept hoping she would change, kept hoping she would remember their family. But Abigail was too far gone. Chief Okonkwo had bought her a car, a brand new Honda. He was paying rent for a small apartment for her in the city. He was giving her money, taking her to expensive restaurants, buying her gold. And Fumi kept encouraging her. Why are you still staying in that man's house? Fumi asked one day. You are making your own money now. You have your own car. Chief Okonkwo wants to marry you officially. Leave that poverty-stricken carpenter and move on with your life. And slowly, the idea took root in Abigail's mind. Why should she stay? What was she gaining by remaining married to a poor carpenter? She had tasted the good life now. There was no going back. One Saturday afternoon, Abigail drove up to the house in her new car. The neighbors came out to watch. They had never seen a car parked in front of Bayo's small house before. Bayo was in the front yard, fixing a chair. The girls were inside. Rina was helping Cordelia with her homework, while Tina was braiding Emerson's hair. Little Maddison was coloring in a book. Abigail stepped out of the car, wearing an expensive gold lace outfit, her neck and wrist heavy with jewelry. Bayo, she called out coldly. Bayo looked up, his heart sinking. He knew. Somehow, he knew what was coming. I am leaving, Abigail announced, her voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I have found someone better, someone who can actually take care of me, not a poverty-stricken man like you. Bayo, please, Bayo stood up, his voice shaking. Please don't do this. Think about our daughters. Think about our family. We have been together for 12 years. 12 years of suffering, Abigail shouted. 12 years of eating the same food, wearing the same clothes, living in this same small house. I am tired. I am done. The girls came running out, having heard their mother's voice. Mama, what is happening? 10-year-old Rina cried. Where are you going? I am leaving, Abigail said flatly. I am going to live with Chief Okonkwo. He has bought me a proper house, a big house, not this poverty cage. Mama, please, Tina grabbed her mother's hand. Please don't leave us. 8-year-old Cordelia and Amelia started crying, holding on to each other, and 6-year-old Emerson and Maddison ran to their father, burying their faces in his legs, sobbing. But Abigail's heart had turned to stone. You girls will be fine. Stay here with your father if you want, but I am leaving. Bayo dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Abigail, please, I am begging you. Don't destroy our family like this. Whatever I have done wrong, I will change. Please, think about the girls. They are still so young. They need their mother. He grabbed her leg, holding on desperately, crying like a broken man. Abigail looked down at him with disgust. Get off me, you poverty-stricken man. You smell of sawdust and failure. I am done with this life. She kicked his hand away, and as she turned to get back into her car, little Maddison ran forward. Mama, don't go. Please, Mama. The 6-year-old was crying so hard she could barely breathe, but Abigail didn't even look at her. She got into her car and drove off without looking back. The 6 daughters stood there crying. The neighbors stood there shaking their heads, and Bayo knelt in the dust, his 6 young daughters surrounding him, all of them weeping together. That night was the longest night of Bayo's life. He held his 6 daughters as they cried themselves to sleep, all of them asking the same question. Papa, why did Mama leave us? Doesn't Mama love us anymore? And Bayo had no answer. He just held them tight and cried with them. After Abigail left, life became a nightmare for Bayo. Not just because he was now raising 6 young daughters alone, not just because the carpentry business was still slow, but because of the mockery. Oh, the mockery was relentless. People would point at him in the market. That is the man whose wife left him for Chief Okonkwo. They would laugh when he passed by. Bayo, your wife is driving a car now. When will you buy your own? Some would say he was cursed. That man must have done something terrible. That is why his wife abandoned him and his 6 daughters. The worst part was taking his daughters to school. He had an old wheelbarrow, the kind used for carrying sand and cement. Because he could not afford a car or even motorcycle transport for all 6 girls, and because the school was far from their house, he would make them sit inside the wheelbarrow, 3 at a time, and push them to school. Every morning, he would first load Emerson, Maddison, and Cordelia into the wheelbarrow and push them to school. Then he would run back home to get Amelia, Rina, and Tina for the second trip. People would stand on the roadside and laugh, point fingers, mock him. Look at Bayo pushing his daughters like they are bags of cement. 6 daughters and not even 1 kobo to transport them properly. His wife was smart to leave him. Who wants to suffer like this? The daughters felt the shame too. Rina, even at 10 years old, understood what people were saying. She would sometimes cry on the way to school. Papa, people are laughing at us. 8-year-old Amelia would whisper, tears in her eyes. Little Maddison would hide her face in her hands, embarrassed that her classmates saw her being pushed in a wheelbarrow. But Bayo would just smile through his pain. Don't mind them, my daughters. Let them laugh. One day, things will change. Just focus on your studies. Education is the only inheritance I can give you. If you study hard, if you become educated, nobody will ever laugh at you again. And despite their young age, the girls understood. They saw their father's sacrifice. They saw him wake up at 4 in the morning to prepare their breakfast, gari and groundnuts, sometimes just bread and tea. They saw him plait their hair even though his big carpenter hands were clumsy with the braids. They saw him wash their school uniforms by hand every night so they would be clean the next day. They saw him work all day in the hot sun, sawing wood, building furniture, coming home exhausted with sawdust in his hair and blisters on his hands. They saw him skip meals sometimes so there would be enough food for them. And they loved their father with everything in their young hearts. They were determined to make him proud. The first year after Abigail left was the hardest. Bayo had to learn how to be both mother and father. He had to learn how to cook proper meals, not just the simple things he knew, but the soups and stews the girls needed. He burned the rice more times than he could count. The soup would sometimes be too salty or too watery, but he kept trying. He had to learn how to plait hair. 10-year-old Rina would sit patiently as he clumsily attempted to braid her hair, pulling too tight, making crooked lines. She never complained, even when it hurt. "It's okay, Papa," she would say. "You are learning, you are doing well." He had to learn how to mend their clothes when they tore, how to help with their homework even when he was exhausted, how to comfort them when they woke up crying for their mother at night. The carpentry business was still struggling. Some months he barely made enough to pay for the girls' school fees. He would go without new clothes for himself, wearing the same 2 shirts and 2 trousers for years. His own shoes had holes in them, but he made sure his daughters had proper school shoes. There were days when they had no food in the house. Days when Bayo would tell the girls, "Papa is not hungry," and give them his portion. Days when they ate only gari and salt because there was no money for soup. But through it all, Bayo made sure of one thing. His daughters went to school every single day. Even when he had no transport money, he would push that wheelbarrow. Even when he was sick, he would drag himself out of bed to prepare them for school. Education is your key, he would tell them every night before bed. No matter how hard life is now, if you have education, you can change your story. Promise me you will never give up on your studies. And the girls would promise. Even 6-year-old Emerson and Maddison understood that school was important. As young as they were, the girls began to help their father in every way they could. Rina, being the eldest, became like a second mother to her younger sisters. She would help them get dressed in the morning, make sure they packed their school bags properly, help them with their homework. Tina would help with the cooking. She learned by watching her father, and soon she could cook simple meals like rice and stew, beans and plantain. When Bayo came home exhausted from work, sometimes Tina would already have dinner prepared. Cordelia and Amelia would clean the house, sweep the floors, wash the dishes. They would fetch water from the well and help wash their younger sister's clothes. Even Emerson and Maddison helped in their own small ways. They would arrange their father's tools when he came home from the workshop, set the table for meals, and keep the house tidy. They all understood that their father was doing his best. They all wanted to make his burden lighter. At school, the girls were focused. While other children played during break time, Rina and Tina would be in the library reading. Cordelia and Amelia would ask their teachers questions, wanting to understand everything. Even little Emerson and Maddison were serious about their studies. Their teachers noticed. "These girls are different," one teacher remarked. "Despite their situation at home, they are some of the best students in this school." But the mockery did not stop. When the girls were 12, 10, and 8, Bayo was still pushing them to school in the wheelbarrow. The business had improved slightly. He could now afford to make 2 trips without running back home because he had bought a second, smaller wheelbarrow, but it was still humiliating. One day, a wealthy woman from the town was driving past when she saw Bayo pushing his daughters in the wheelbarrow. She stopped her car and called out to him, "Bayo, is this how you are transporting your children in a wheelbarrow?" Rina looked down at her hands, fighting back tears. Bayo stopped, breathing hard from pushing the heavy wheelbarrow. "Yes, madam. This is what I can afford for now." The woman shook her head. "This is shameful. These children should be in a proper vehicle. This is not right." "I know, madam," Bayo said quietly, "but this is my situation now. I am doing my best." "Your best?" The woman laughed mockingly. "Your best is pushing your daughters like cargo? No wonder your wife left you. She was tired of this embarrassing life." The girls saw their father's face fall, saw the pain in his eyes, and something changed in them that day. When they got to school, Rina gathered her sisters together during break time. "Listen to me," she said, her young voice firm with determination. "We are going to study harder than anyone else in this school. We are going to become something great. And one day, we are going to buy Papa a car. No, not just a car. We are going to build him a big house. We are going to make sure nobody ever mocks him again." Cordelia nodded. "Yes, we will make Papa proud." Emerson, tears in her eyes, said, "I don't want Papa to push us in the wheelbarrow anymore. I want to buy him a bus, a big bus." From that day, the girls became even more serious about their education. They would wake up at 5 in the morning to study before school. They would study under the dim kerosene lamp at night while their father repaired furniture. Years later, something happened that changed everything. By this time, Rina and Tina were 15 years old, about to finish secondary school. Cordelia and Amelia were 13. Emerson and Maddison were 11. The state government announced a project. They were going to build a large government secondary school in Freetown. It was a massive project, requiring furniture for classrooms, administrative offices, dormitories, staff rooms, everything. Local carpenters were invited to bid for the contract. Bayo had never handled anything this big before. His hands trembled as he prepared his proposal. He spent 3 sleepless nights calculating costs, planning designs, praying. 15-year-old Rina helped him type up the proposal at a business center, using money she had saved from selling oranges after school. "Papa, you can do this," she encouraged him. "Your furniture is the best in this town. They will see that." When the day came for the bid presentations, Bayo put on his best clothes, which was just a clean shirt and trousers, nothing fancy. The shirt had been sewn many years ago and it was faded, but it was clean. He entered the room full of other carpenters, some with big workshops and fancy presentations. Bayo felt small, inadequate. His presentation was just a few typed papers and some photos of furniture he had made. But when his turn came, he stood up and spoke from his heart. "I am just a simple carpenter," he said quietly, his voice shaking slightly. "I don't have a big workshop or many workers, but I promise you this. If you give me this contract, I will put my whole heart into it. I will use the best wood. I will make furniture that will last for 20 years. I will supervise every single piece myself, because I am not just working for money. I am working to give my 6 daughters a better future. I am working to prove that an honest man can succeed. I am working to show my daughters that hard work and integrity pay off in the end." He showed them photos of his work, simple but beautiful pieces, chairs that were steady and well-crafted, tables with smooth finishes, desks with careful joinery. Something about his honesty touched the panel. They saw the calluses on his hands. They saw the sincerity in his eyes. They saw the faded but clean shirt he wore with dignity. 3 days later, Bayo received a letter. He opened it with shaking hands. His 6 daughters gathered around him in their small living room. He read the first line, and his voice broke. I got it! I got the contract!" The room erupted. 15-year-old Rina burst into tears of joy. 13-year-old Cordelia jumped up and down. 11-year-old Emerson ran to hug her father. All 6 girls were crying, laughing, screaming with happiness. Bayo fell to his knees and wept. Not tears of sorrow this time. Tears of joy, tears of gratitude, tears of relief. "Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you for not forgetting us." That night, for the first time in 5 years, they had a feast. Bayo bought chicken, real chicken, and rice and drinks. The girls ate until their stomachs were full, laughing and talking excitedly about what this meant for their family. "Papa," 15-year-old Tina said, "does this mean we won't use the wheelbarrow anymore?" Bayo smiled through his tears. "Yes, my daughter. No more wheelbarrow, I promise." The contract changed everything. Bayo hired more workers, young men from the town who needed jobs. He rented a bigger workshop. He bought better tools, better wood, better materials. For 8 months, he worked harder than he had ever worked in his life. He would wake up at 4 in the morning and not return home until 9 at night. But now, his daughters understood. They knew he was building their future. And the furniture he produced was excellent. Beautiful craftsmanship, strong, durable. Every piece was made with love and care. The government officials were impressed. So impressed that when the school project finished, they called him back. "Bayo," the education minister said, "we have another project. A hospital needs furniture. Are you interested?" "Yes, sir," Bayo almost shouted. "Yes, I am interested." Another contract, then another, then another. Word spread across the state. If you want quality furniture, go to Bayo. That man works like he is building for his own children. And that was exactly what Bayo was doing. Every chair he built, every table he crafted, every desk he assembled, he imagined his daughters sitting at them and he made sure they were perfect. Money started coming in. Real money. The first thing Bayo did was buy a car. Not a fancy car, just a used Toyota, but it was clean and it ran well. The day he drove up to the house to pick up his daughters for school, the whole neighborhood came out to watch. Rina cried when she saw it. "Papa, you did it. You bought a car." "No, my daughter," Bayo said, tears in his own eyes. "We did it. You girls motivated me to keep going. This car is for all of us." That first ride to school in a car instead of a wheelbarrow, oh, the girls would never forget it. They sat in the back seat, all 6 of them squeezed in together, laughing and crying at the same time. When they arrived at school, their classmates' mouths dropped open. "That's Bayo's car," someone whispered. "The man who used to push his daughters in a wheelbarrow?" The same people who had mocked them now looked at them with new eyes. Over the next 5 years, Bayo's business grew bigger and bigger. He moved from carpentry to furniture manufacturing. He opened a proper factory. He employed 20 workers. His furniture was sold not just in Freetown, but in the state capital, in neighboring states. And he made sure his daughters had everything they needed for their education. Rina and Tina, now 20 years old, graduated secondary school as the best students. Both of them scored highly in their final exams. Rina wanted to study medicine, Tina wanted to study law. Bayo paid their school fees to attend the university. For the first time in their lives, his daughters were going to university, the same daughters he used to push in a wheelbarrow. When he dropped them off at the university campus, he held them tight and said, "Remember where you came from. Remember the wheelbarrow. Remember the mockery. Let it fuel you to become great. But never, never look down on others who are struggling, because we were once there too." "Yes, Papa," they both promised. Cordelia and Amelia, now 18 years old, also did excellently in their exams. Cordelia also wanted to study law. Amelia wanted to become a doctor. And Emerson and Maddison, now 16, were already showing signs of brilliance. They both loved business and mathematics. Bayo paid for all of them. Every single school fee, every textbook, every transport money. He made sure they lacked nothing. His business continued to grow. He bought a bigger house in a better part of town. Not a mansion yet, but a proper house with enough rooms for everyone. The girls each had their own room for the first time in their lives. The same neighbors who had mocked him now greeted him with respect. "Good morning, Alhaji Bayo." They started calling him Alhaji, even though he had not gone to Mecca, because successful men were called Alhaji. But Bayo never forgot where he came from. He still drove past his old house sometimes, looking at it, remembering the pain, the struggle. The wheelbarrow still sat in the corner of his old compound, rusting now. He refused to throw it away. "That wheelbarrow taught my daughters humility," he would say. "It stays." The girls flourished in their universities. Rina, studying medicine, was one of the best students in her class. She was so brilliant that in her 3rd year, she received a scholarship to continue her medical studies in the United Kingdom. A full scholarship, everything paid for. When she received the letter, she called her father, crying, "Papa, I got a scholarship to study in the UK." Bayo wept on the phone. "Go, my daughter. Go and show them that a girl who was once pushed to school in a wheelbarrow can compete with anyone in the world." Tina, studying law, also excelled. She was the top student in her year. She won the Best Student Award. In her final year, she received a scholarship to do her master's degree in Canada. Bayo could not believe it. 2 of his daughters were going abroad to study, the same daughters people had mocked. Cordelia and Amelia, following in their sisters' footsteps, were also brilliant students. Cordelia graduated top of her law class and got a job in one of the biggest law firms in Lagos. Amelia became a doctor and was hired by one of the top hospitals in the country. And Emerson and Maddison, the youngest twins, they went into business together. They started a fashion company using the small capital their father gave them and the business sense they had learned from watching him build his company. Within 3 years, their fashion brand became one of the most popular in West Africa. Their designs were featured in international magazines. Celebrities wore their clothes. All 6 daughters became successful, and not one of them forgot their father. When Rina finished her medical degree in the UK and got a high-paying job at a hospital in London, she called her sisters. "Sisters," she said on the video call. All 6 of them were on the call together. "It's time. We all promised when we were young that we would build Papa a proper house. Now we can do it." "Yes," Tina agreed from Canada, where she was now a successful lawyer. "Let's do it." They all contributed. Rina and Tina sent money from abroad. Cordelia and Amelia sent money from their jobs. Emerson and Maddison contributed from their fashion business. And they didn't just build a house. They built a mansion. They built it in Lagos, in Lekki, one of the most expensive areas in Nigeria. A beautiful white mansion with 6 bedrooms, one for each daughter, a massive living room, a study for their father, a swimming pool, a garden, luxury cars in the garage. And above the gate, they installed a golden plaque that read, Bayo's house, built by his 6 daughters in gratitude for a father who never gave up. When the house was complete, they planned a surprise. They told their father they wanted to take him to Lagos for a business meeting. Bayo, now a successful businessman himself, agreed. He drove to Lagos not knowing what awaited him. They blindfolded him, playfully, and led him to the gate. Then they removed the blindfold. Bayo stared at the golden plaque, read the words, looked at the massive mansion behind the gate, and he collapsed to his knees, weeping. All 6 daughters were there, standing together. Rina had flown in from London, Tina from Canada, Cordelia and Amelia had taken time off work, Emerson and Maddison had closed their fashion shop for the day. They all knelt down with their father and cried together. "Papa," Rina said through her tears, "do you remember the wheelbarrow?" Bayo nodded, unable to speak. "Do you remember how people laughed at us, how they mocked you?" He nodded again. "This house," Tina said, "is our answer to all of them. This house is proof that a good father raises successful daughters. This house is proof that hard work and integrity win in the end." "Papa," little Maddison said, though she was not so little anymore, she was now 26 years old, "we brought the wheelbarrow here." Bayo looked up in surprise. "Yes," Emerson said, "we want to put it in the compound, in a glass case, so we never forget where we came from, so our children and grandchildren will see it and know that success is not about where you start, it's about refusing to give up." They helped their father stand and led him into the mansion. He walked through the rooms in awe. Every room was furnished beautifully. His study had a mahogany desk and shelves full of books. The living room had the finest furniture. Ironic, because now he didn't have to make furniture anymore. He could afford to buy the best. "This is too much," Bayo kept saying. "This is too much." "No, Papa," Cordelia said, "it's not too much. It's not even enough to repay you for all you did for us, for the meals you skipped so we could eat, for the clothes you didn't buy so we could have school uniforms, for the times you pushed us in that wheelbarrow until your back ached, for being our mother and father when Mama left us." At the mention of their mother, the mood shifted slightly. They had not spoken about Abigail much over the years. It was a painful topic, but she was still their mother, and they had often wondered what happened to her. "Papa," Rina asked quietly, "have you heard anything about Mama?" Bayo shook his head. "No, after she left, I never heard from her again. I heard rumors that Chifokonkwo cut her off some years ago, but I don't know where she is now or what she is doing." "Do you still think about her?" Amelia asked. Bayo was quiet for a moment. "I forgave her a long time ago," he said finally, "because holding anger in my heart was only hurting me. But forgiveness does not mean I have forgotten the pain. It does not mean I will take her back." The daughters nodded. They understood. What they didn't know was that Abigail had been watching them. She had seen Rina's scholarship announcement in the newspapers. She had seen the feature article about Emerson and Maddison's fashion company. She had heard about Cordelia winning a major legal case. She had heard about Amelia saving a patient's life and being featured on TV. And shame had been eating her alive. Let me tell you what happened to Abigail after she left. For the first 3 years, life was sweet. Chief Okonkwo had set her up nicely. The apartment in the city, the car, the money. She shopped at expensive stores, ate at fancy restaurants, traveled to Ghana and Dubai. She posted photos on social media showing off her new life. She never once thought about Bayo or her daughters. But then Chief Okonkwo's wife found out, and the chief's wife was not a woman to be played with. She was from a powerful family herself. She made trouble, big trouble. She went to herbalists. She made complaints to the chief's family. She caused scandals at parties. Eventually, Chief Okonkwo got tired of the drama. He called Abigail one evening. "This is not working," he said coldly. "My wife is making my life hell. I need peace in my home. You need to go." But what about me?" Abigail pleaded. "Where will I go?" "That is not my problem," Chief Okonkwo said. "I gave you a good life for 3 years. That should be enough. The apartment lease ends this month. I'm not renewing it. Keep the car if you want. The papers are in your name. But don't contact me again." And he hung up. Just like that, Abigail was alone. She tried to find other rich men, but the truth was she was getting older now. She was in her late 30s. The young girls in their early 20s, were taking over. The big men wanted younger women, fresher faces. She spent the next 2 years going from one man to another, each one less wealthy than the last. Her savings ran out. She had to sell the car to pay rent. Then she had to move to a cheaper apartment, then an even cheaper one. She had to sell her jewelry to buy food, then her clothes, then everything. Within 5 years of leaving Bayo, Abigail was back to square one. Worse than square one, because now she had no husband, no daughters, no family, no support system. She moved back to Freetown and rented a tiny room in a poor neighborhood, the kind of neighborhood she had once despised. She heard about Bayo's success, heard that he had become a wealthy businessman, heard that his daughters were all successful, doctors, lawyers, businesswomen, and shame had been eating her alive. And the regret nearly killed her. She would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling of her tiny room, thinking about what her life could have been, if only she had been patient, if only she had been content, if only she had valued her family over temporary wealth. But it was too late. Too late for regrets, too late for wishes. One day, Abigail saw a newspaper article with a photo of Bayo and all 6 daughters standing in front of their new mansion in Lagos. The headline read, "From Wheelbarrow to Mansion, the inspiring story of Bayo and his 6 daughters." She bought the newspaper and read every word. Read about how he had struggled alone, how he had pushed them to school in a wheelbarrow, how people had mocked them, how they had all worked hard and become successful. And she wept for hours, holding that newspaper, staring at the photo of the family she had abandoned. "I need to see them," she whispered to herself. "I need to apologize. I need to beg for forgiveness." She found out the address of the mansion from the newspaper feature. She used the last of her money to take a bus to Lagos. When she arrived at the mansion, she almost turned back. The house was so beautiful, so grand. The golden plaque above the gate gleamed in the sunlight. She looked down at her own clothes, faded, worn. She looked at her hands, no more jewelry, just plain hands, aged and rough from washing clothes to make money. She almost turned and left, but she had come too far. She walked up to the gate. The security guard stopped her. "Yes, can I help you?" I need to see Bayo," she said quietly, and his daughters." "Who are you?" Abigail swallowed hard. I am their mother." The guard's eyes widened. He had heard the story. Everyone who worked in that house knew the story of the woman who had abandoned her family. "Wait here," he said, going inside to inform the family. Inside the mansion, the family was having Sunday lunch together. All 6 daughters had come home that weekend. They did this once a month, all gathered together with their father. When the guard came and told them their mother was at the gate, the dining room fell silent. Forks stopped midway to mouths. Glasses froze in hands. "What did you say?" Rina asked quietly. "Your mother, madame. She's at the gate. She says she wants to see all of you." Bayo's face was unreadable. He said nothing, just stared at his plate. "What should we do?" Cordelia asked. "Send her away," Tina said sharply. "She has no right to be here." "No," Amelia said. "Let her in. Let her see what she missed. Let her see what we built without her." "Are you sure?" Emerson asked, looking at her father. Bayo finally spoke. Let her in. We will hear what she has to say. They told the guard to allow her into the compound. Abigail walked slowly up the long driveway, her heart pounding. She passed the luxury cars parked in the garage. She saw the swimming pool, the beautiful garden, the mansion itself, white and gleaming in the afternoon sun. This could have been hers. This life, this comfort, this family, it could have all been hers if she had just been patient. She entered the house and was led to the dining room. And there they were. Bayo, looking older but healthy, well-dressed, sitting at the head of a long mahogany table. And her 6 daughters, no longer the little girls she had left. Rina and Tina were now 30 years old, beautiful, confident women. Cordelia and Amelia were 28. Emerson and Maddison were 26. All of them were staring at her. Abigail's legs gave way. She fell to her knees right there in the doorway. I am sorry, she sobbed. I am so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I was foolish. I was greedy. I destroyed our family. Please forgive me. Please. Nobody spoke. She crawled forward on her knees, tears streaming down her face. Bayo, please, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I abandoned you when you needed me most. I know I chose money over family. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Still, nobody spoke. She turned to her daughters. My babies, my beautiful daughters, I am so proud of you. Look at what you have become. Doctors, lawyers, businesswomen. But I had no part in it. I wasn't there. I missed everything. I missed your graduations. I missed your struggles. I missed being your mother, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. Rina finally spoke, her voice cold. You are proud of us? You have no right to be proud of us. We are not your achievement. We are Papa's achievement. He is the one who raised us. He is the one who pushed us to school in a wheelbarrow while you are driving around in a car with Chief Okonkwo. He is the one who skipped meals so we could eat while you are eating in fancy restaurants. He is the one who cried with us at night when we asked where you were. I know, Abigail cried. I know, and I am sorry. Sorry is not enough, Tina said. Do you know what it did to us when you left? Do you know how many nights we cried ourselves to sleep? Cordelia had nightmares for years. Little Maddison used to ask Papa every single day, when is Mama coming back? Do you know what that did to him? Do you know what it did to us? Maddison's voice was the quietest. I am 26 years old, and I still remember the day you left. I remember running after your car, crying for you to come back. I remember you didn't even look back. I was 6 years old, Mama. 6 years old, and you didn't even look back. Abigail was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Please forgive me. I have nowhere to go. I have nothing. I am living in one small room. I have no money. I am suffering. Please take me back. Please let me be part of this family again. It was Bayo who finally spoke. Abigail, he said quietly, I forgave you a long time ago because I had to, because holding on to anger was destroying me. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness does not mean letting you back into our lives as if nothing happened. But I am their mother, Abigail pleaded. No, Bayo said firmly. You stopped being their mother the day you drove away in that car. I became their mother and their father. I am the one who braided their hair. I am the one who attended their school meetings. I am the one who held them when they were sick. I am the one who celebrated their achievements. You are not there for any of it. You have no claim to them now. Rina spoke again. Mama, we will not throw you out on the streets. We are not heartless like you are. We will help you. Abigail's face lit up with hope. But, Rina continued, her voice hard, Understand this clearly. We are helping you out of charity, not out of love. We will rent a small apartment, not here in Lagos, but in a small town. We will send you money every month for food and basic needs, but that is all. You will never live in this house. You will never sit at this table. You will never be part of this family again. You are just a woman we are helping because we are kind people, not because we consider you our mother. But, Abigail was devastated. This was worse than being thrown out. This was being kept at arm's length, being reduced to a charity case. That is our offer, Tina said. Take it or leave it. What if I refuse? Abigail asked desperately. What if I beg you to let me back fully? Then you get nothing, Emerson said simply, and you can return to your single room. Abigail realized she had no choice. She had no leverage, no power, nothing. I accept, she whispered.